Some of us may be waiting for something before we take our next step of preparation. Maybe it's forgiving that one person that wronged you and that grudge you're holding. You're waiting for something to happen before you move out on that. Maybe it's reaching out to that one friend that God's been putting on your mind over and over again. You're waiting God, give me a sign. Maybe for yourself, it's kicking that sinful habit or that habit that you know isn't good for you. Whatever it is, please take this as your signal to take that next step. Because you can start preparing before it's too late. Be wise, because God has given us what we need to know to hold on. And you know what's great? The plan isn't changing. Right? The plan isn't changing because God isn't changing. To illustrate this, I want to share the story of a man named Stanley Tam. And although this man sounds like he might be part of our congregation, he actually isn't. Stanley Tam was an American businessman who lived from 1915 and went to be with the Lord last year. And so he's the author of a book called God Owns My Business. He converted at 19 years old. He was a door-to-door salesman. And he started a business in 1936 called the United States Plastic Corporation. And if you guys know your history, around that time was the Great Depression, and his business soon failed. And he recalls at that time he had a prayer conversation with God. And he said, God, there just isn't enough going for me. Lord, if I had the capital, that is the money, dot. Before that line could finish, he heard God responding and said, you shouldn't be concerned about a lack of finances. All you need is faith in me. And he responded, I do have faith, God. And then he heard God say, enough faith to turn your business over to me, to let me run it for you. And so what did he do? In 1940, he donated 51% of the company's stock to a nonprofit which gave its earnings to Christian missions. He believed that God wanted to run the business and Stanley was just going to be an employee for him. But as time went on, 51% wasn't actually enough. In 55, he was working in South America and he felt God speaking to him, saying, Stanley, if a soul is the most precious thing in the world, would you go back to the United States and turn your entire business over to me? Would you use the profits to spread the gospel around the world? What do you think he said? He said, I think what all of us would say. Lord, you already have 51%, are you? Isn't that enough? And he heard God say, Stanley, on the cross, I paid it all for you. Now you're my disciple and I want you to do what I ask. See, if we truly believe that God owns everything and that we owe everything to him, if we truly believe that the price of a soul is precious and priceless, that our time here matters and it's not going to last forever, that should challenge and change the way that we live. Wise living looks at the plan and says, all right, I know this is going to happen, let me prepare accordingly. If we know that souls here can perish and be gone eternally, and we know that the time that we spend with them can secure an eternal reward, then the wise thing to do would be to prepare. And so he did it. And he recalls people used to say to him, Stanley, you're giving it all away. Right? Why aren't you keeping any of it? Or why aren't you keeping it? And you know what he said? He said, I am putting it in the bank account. He prepared by living like life here was temporary, because it is. But he recognized that souls are eternal.